Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome back to today's Explainer, where we're going to embark on a journey to the absolute bedrock of existence. We're looking at a profoundly fascinating framework today, the architecture of possibility. We're going to explore exactly how the reality we see all around us actually manages to emerge. You know, if you've ever looked around the room, tapped your knuckles on a solid table, and wondered how the chaotic, unpredictable quantum world beneath it all somehow translates into a solid, stable, everyday life, well, this explainer is built entirely for you. Now, before we go tearing down the very fabric of the cosmos, let's set some ground rules. These are conceptual possibilities that help us think about the foundations of reality, not established science. We've got to approach this with a healthy dose of epistemic humility. We aren't looking at rigid dogma or strict textbook laws today. Instead, we're exploring a seriously powerful philosophical framework derived from the absolute bleeding edge of cosmology and physics. Think of this as our map to navigate the unknown. It's here to challenge our assumptions and really push us to rethink the very nature of existence itself.
And, well, that brings us to the ultimate mystery. How can a single reality emerge from infinitely many possibilities? We know that at the quantum level, the universe seems to be just this swirling storm of maybe, right? Yet when you wake up in the morning, your coffee cup is exactly where you left it. It's singular, it's solid, it's real. So how on earth does the universe bridge that massive gap between infinite potential and one concrete reality?
Which brings us to Section 1, the quantum misconception. Now, what's really interesting here is that to truly grasp how reality functions, we actually need to unlearn a few things first. We've got to completely tear down some of those pop science cliches that are honestly just blocking our understanding. The old view, the cliche you've probably heard in a dozen sci-fi movies, is all about a particle being in multiple places at once. We're basically taught to imagine a tiny little sphere magically duplicating itself across space. But the new, much more profound view we're exploring today completely flips that. Superposition represents a deeper, fundamental layer of reality itself. It's not a magic trick of location, and it's definitely not about a particle doing impossible gymnastics. It's about the very nature of what is allowed to exist in the first place.
So let's redefine that term right now. Superposition is a space of potential outcomes where multiple physically realizable possibilities coexist before a selection process occurs. Think of it not as a physical place you can visit, but as a vast waiting room of reality, a realm of pure potential. In this waiting room, various versions of an event, things that could physically happen, are simply coexisting as potentials. They aren't just weird quantum things happening all at once, they're actually blueprints waiting for a builder.
Let's move to Section 2, the space of potential, and see exactly how this builds. If superposition is a waiting room of blueprints, we need to figure out exactly what kind of blueprints are actually allowed inside. What does a space of potential really look like? Well, there's a huge difference between mathematical possibilities, which is literally anything you can calculate, and physically realizable possibilities, which is what can actually exist. In mathematics, you can calculate almost anything, right? You can map out infinitely many dimensions. You can divide by zero. You can even create equations for universes that operate in reverse time. But physically realizable possibilities, that's what can exist within the strict confines of our universe's physical laws. The space of potential isn't some chaotic free-for-all where literally anything goes. It is heavily bounded by physical reality, which keeps the whole concept incredibly grounded.
Which naturally leads us to this incredibly profound realization. Not every conceivable state can become reality. The universe has strict, absolute, non-negotiable limits on what is allowed to cross the threshold from potential into existence. Just because you can imagine something, or even calculate it out on a chalkboard, that doesn't grant it a VIP pass into the fabric of reality. Basically, there's a cosmic bouncer at the door.
And that cosmic bouncer brings us to Section 3, the selection process.
So, the crucial point is this. If we have this vast but still limited waiting room of physical potentials, why do certain potentials get called up to become real while others never see the light of day? Well, we really need to talk about the great filter of reality. A functional, stable universe fundamentally demands filtering mechanisms. Why? First, it totally prevents the chaotic overlap of all outcomes. I mean, if every possibility happened at once, existence would be pure static. It'd be completely unlivable and entirely formless. Second, it limits reality to compatible physical states. Things have to actually make sense together. You simply can't have a universe where gravity both pulls and pushes simultaneously on the exact same object. And finally, these filters transform infinite potential into a singular reality. This right here is the very engine of existence. The universe literally has to edit itself to survive. Which finally leads us to Section 4, how reality emerges. This step-by-step sequence completely flips how we normally think about physics. Normally, we tend to think reality is built from the bottom up, right? Like stacking tiny subatomic particles, just like little physical bricks to build a universe. But the actual process is completely different. Step 1 is possibility. We start with that massive space of potential outcomes. Step 2 is selection. Here, the universe applies its rigorous filtering mechanisms. It forcefully chips away whatever's incompatible. And step 3 is emergence, where a single stable reality finally crystallizes. So reality isn't built by adding things together. It's built through a progressive reduction of possibilities. It's exactly like a cosmic sculpture, carving a beautiful, singular statue by simply chipping away all the marble that isn't the statue.
So I want to leave you with this final, truly mind-expanding thought. What if reality is not made of things, but of selected possibilities? What if the device you're watching this on, the chair you're sitting in, and the very cells in your body aren't just clumps of solid matter, but rather the survivors of a cosmic filtering process? They're the ultimate winners of a fundamental selection, the crystallized potentials that simply made the cut. It completely redefines what it actually means to exist. Think about that the next time you look up at the stars, or honestly, just drink your morning coffee.